Do you feel like you're in a holding pattern today? Guess what? It is your opportunity to land the plane. Join us today. Welcome to Voices of Legacy. I'm Colleen, and I'm here with Leah, Nicole, and Paco. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So good to see you. We are going to be discussing and applying the Sunday morning message from Pastor Eric Peoples on Easter Sunday called No More Holding Patterns. It was based on Matthew 28. We're going to start off today with a question. Where are you with Jesus right now? Do you feel like you're fully trusting, occasionally circling, or are you still skeptical about stuff? And what do you think has most shaped the season of life you're in right now?
Well, I'm right where I'm supposed to be with Jesus. He knew me before I was in the womb, and I thank the Lord for the journey that I've been on, all my trials, my tribulations, to lead me to where I am today here at Legacy Church, praising Him and giving Him all the glory. Yeah, it was a very great service on Easter Sunday, just to be amongst all the believers, and on such a joyous occasion, He is risen, the resurrection, to be forgiven of all our sins. It's God loved us that much.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
Have you felt that this has become more attuned for you lately? Because you were recently baptized too. You made a decision for that.
Yeah. Well, it's just every day is just a new day, and I try to get to the Bible every day in the morning, read a couple chapters. I'm up in Kings now. And just to read it every day, it's like planting a seed. Mm-hmm. And every day you read it, you're not seeing it grow. That seed's under the ground. And you just plant it and you water it. And then it grows into this big, beautiful fruit tree or whatever it is. And right now I'm watering that seed.
Yeah.
And just waiting for it to grow that big, beautiful fruit plant.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah. How about you, Leah? Where do you feel like you're with Jesus right now?
I would say that right now I'm all in. Right. I started coming to Legacy in August. I think before then, as I reflect on God, as I'm learning more about God and Jesus as an adult after so many trials and tribulations, not before.
Yeah.
It gives you like such a different perspective on how all these things that I thought I lived through, I was alone, and you look through them and you're like, I was never alone. Mm-mm. Like His grace was with me through every moment that I did not even know He was there. And as I realize that more and more, it just becomes so powerful, and it leaves you with very little room to have any skepticism. Now, that's not to say that there's days where I don't struggle, and not struggle with my belief, but struggle with my reality, right? Because you can believe, but then you're living and you're like, okay, what are we doing here? Right. Where are we going? Mm-hmm. What's the next step? And I think one of the things I've learned to do is I love surprises. And it always is kind of like, well, God's got it, and I just can't wait to see it. Yeah. So it's almost like I just think of it as I don't have to worry about it, and it's all going to be good, even if it feels bad. Or even if something is disappointing, it's not because I don't deserve it. It's not because I did something wrong. It's not because I said the wrong thing. It's because it just wasn't meant for me. And that's like so powerful. So in this season of life, my belief and my all in and kind of giving it and laying it at His feet has allowed me to have freedom, to have peace, to have happiness I've never experienced before because I don't have to worry. So it's been truly a blessing, and I'm very grateful every day.
That's amazing. And I think it's really noteworthy because I'm sure many of our listeners do not feel like they've got that peace secured.
Right.
And even when you don't see things that are in alignment with how you're moving forward, there's some struggles, there's some challenges, you still have a peace. That's a peace that passes all understanding that only Jesus can give.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Amen.
Yep. Yeah. That's through faith.
Yep.
That's really great. I think that there's a lot of people who live life overthinking
Yeah.
or worrying too much, or even with internet right now, we know more than we've ever known in human history. And in fact, I've heard it said many times that we as humans were not meant to take on the weight of all the
Absolutely.
knowledge that we're given every day. That's changed some of my habits with the internet and with AI.
Oh, yes.
And also, that was a sermon. That was one of the first sermons that Pastor Eric did when I started coming in August. He was talking about a story about a shark in Australia. And he opened it up by saying, did you hear about that shark attack? And he's like, I got so worried. I'm thinking Cape Cod, Massachusetts, Connecticut, like somewhere. They're like in Australia. And he's like, why am I worried? You know what I mean? I'm not going to go to Australia. And it just reminded me of that because he gave that sermon and I was like, it's very valid. And I shut down all my social media. I was like, I'm not consuming it anymore. It's not good for me. So just on your point, it was.
Nicole, do you have any thoughts you want to share with us on this?
Yeah, I think that in addition to the information overload that I think all of us are over-consuming, I also think that with so much information that we're also isolating ourselves. I think that with how much internet and AI has, risen, there's been a really lack of connection and a really deep desire for authenticity. And I know that in the sermon, Pastor was talking about, people not getting to know the real you because of masking. And I think this is something that a lot of people can really relate to in terms of not really being able to be their true self because of, rejection or the fear of being perceived. And so a lot of people right now, they're in isolation or they're struggling for connection because they can't seem to find genuine connection with others. And people really want that. There's a loneliness epidemic right now, and a lot of people are suffering because people can't really find that type of community, or people are struggling to find that type of community to connect with.
And even with texting today, which is the default for everybody, I believe. I mean, nobody really answers the phone anymore. Yeah. And so we text each other, but that's one-way communication. And to your point, if people are listening and drawing their own conclusions, which happened in my world this week, sometimes technology can be a great thing. People all over the world can be listening to this podcast that we're speaking of right now, but being selective and knowing when to make the decision to say, I'm not going to do this anymore, or I am going to do a certain thing or two. That's when those holding patterns are released and we can land the plane where we feel God is calling us to do it. Have you been in a spiritual holding pattern, maybe circling the same doubts or habits or fears? And what landing move of trust is Jesus inviting you to make now?
Well, I haven't been in a spiritual holding pattern recently, but I remember when I was, younger, around, my junior, senior year, getting ready for college and kind of seeing, my classmates kind of worry about, their post-secondary plans, where they're going to go to college and all those things, and just having a lot of anxiety, around that. And, even me at that time just circling around and saying, Lord, I really want to do this, but, other plans lead me towards this path. And so we're kind of struggling about that for a while. And, as I've, gotten older, I realized, the Lord is really, showing, my path. And, sometimes it's kind of hard to trust God in certain things, as Leah said about, trusting your reality, right? Even when things aren't really aligning with what you think, it is. But, the Lord has really just shown me that in all his plans that he is good, that his plans are for us to prosper and to give us a hope in a future. And so no matter what, whether things, work out in one way or another, that the Lord knows our beginning, middle, and end. He knows where we're going to end up. And so, now being where I am, was very appreciative for that.
I am so encouraged by this roundtable today. And I know that our listeners have been too. So thank you for joining us today on Voices of Legacy. And if you want to hear more, check back with us next week. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Voices of Legacy, where we discuss and apply what we've heard on Sunday mornings. For more information on Legacy Church, follow our socials or go to legacychurchct.org.